Hey my friends, it is me, Rob Sims, founder of Maximum Achievement Performance University and author of Intentional Mornings, and we are on day 3 of the Double Your Productivity and Win Your Day formula. 5 habits that make you 50% more productive. And hopefully you've been watching the other videos in this series and you're caught up, you know where we're going with this. And hopefully you've done the exercises. If not, go back. Those videos are down there. You can go click them again, go back to them, watch them. You want to progress through this linearly. You want to start with habit 1, then go to habit 2, because they really build on each other. So habit 1 was knowing what productivity means to you and why you want to be more productive. Just being more productive, I mean, that's the goal I know so many people have. I just want to get more done. But the whole basis of doubling your productivity comes from the fact that you know why you want to double your productivity, and that gives you motivation, and it also helps you stay focused on the things that really matter. Because you know, in habit 1 we talked about knowing your purpose and knowing your intention. What is it you're really trying to accomplish? And that will help eliminate things during the day that pull you off of purpose. And when you're able to recognize these things are not on my list, these are not things that help me achieve my real purpose and intention, then it's easier to be more productive. And then yesterday we talked about how to win your day, how to start every day with a positive mindset by going through the 5-minute intentional morning journal. And hopefully you're getting in the habit of that and you're doing that. So you're knowing what you want, you're being focused and you're getting clarity on that. And then you're also going through the steps of getting the mindset right and starting every morning in a way that helps you win your day. Because like we talked about yesterday, so many people just kind of drag themselves out of bed, and in doing so, they set up their day to be basically a long journey to get back into bed. And I hope that's not you. And if it is, go back, rewatch that. Watch them a few times. You know, all learning takes place through repetition. We don't just attend, a lecture and go to one class or read something one time and all of a sudden, bam, all of a sudden I'm changed and I'm better. No, in order to grow, it's a process. Growth is a process. It's just like if you've ever learned any type of skill, which I'm sure you have, you don't just learn it one time. You practice it over and over again. So we want to make these into habits, and to do that, make sure you're doing it every day, and maybe even more than once a day. These things are something you can literally be doing several times a day, like being grateful. Did you do your gratitude today? What are you grateful for? Who are the people in your life that you're grateful for? What activities are you grateful you get to do? And what things are you grateful that you have? What are you grateful that you're working for and working towards? And one of my favorites for productivity is, what are you grateful for in the struggle? Because one of the habits of success, it's not a productivity habit, but it's what I call a maximum achievement performance habit, and that's called embrace the struggle. And when you realize that struggle is part of your journey, that it is a necessity, it has to be there for you to go from one stage to the next. Because if we go through life and everything is given, everything is easy, we're going to get way too much certainty in our life, and that certainty that everything's always going to work out can be detrimental to our success. So learn to embrace the struggle, and gratitude will help you do that, because you can be thankful for the lessons you're learning. Be thankful for the obstacles in your way and see them not as a threat. They're not out to get you or keep you from what you want. They are a hindrance. They might slow you down, but they're not a threat. They're a challenge. And successful people, maximum achievers, people who crush it every day and they live lives that most people just can't believe is even possible because they're really living their dream. They know that every day there's a struggle and there's a new challenge to overcome, but they get excited to the challenge. They rise to the challenge and they see it as another stepping stone. Once I figure this out, then I can go to the next level. And I can tell you from my own experience just in making these videos, Just in making these videos alone, my struggle stemmed from lighting to begin with. I would make the video and I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. No one's gonna wanna watch this. It looks like I recorded it in a dungeon. So I had to learn to do lighting. And that took a while to do. And then I had to learn camera angles and I had to learn how to adjust the camera to get the right shutter speed and everything else. And I'm still learning. So if you're like an expert in that and you watch this video and you go, yeah, your white balance is off, Rob, I don't mind if you shoot me a text, or an email. Send me a message and say, hey, here's how you might be able to fix that. I have no problem with that because I realize that's part of the journey and part of the struggle. And it's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, let's get into habit 3, assuming you did the first 2 habits. Today's habit is start with your priorities. This one right here kicks so many people in the tail because they don't. I hear what people do and what they say they're doing first thing in the mornings, and it's not priorities. It's someone else's priorities. I know people that literally wake up and grab their phone and start checking their emails, their social media. They're responding to people that are demanding of their time or trying to steal their time in some way. And that's not your priority. That's someone else's priorities. Your priority, first thing in the morning, should be getting your mindset right, getting energized, getting focused, taking care of your health, getting the energy you need to make it through the day. Like we talked about yesterday, what do you do in those first few minutes about getting out of bed? This is crucial to your success. And my priority when I get out of bed is energy. That's it. I want to get out of bed because, you're kind of groggy from sleeping. You get out of bed and you do some jumping jacks. You do some bounding exercises. You do a few squats. You do some deep breaths and you drink a bunch of water. And then you go and get, some sort of an energy drink or energy smoothie. I don't know what you do, but hopefully it's something that's a priority to help you get more energy. And then maybe you do a little exercise, or maybe you meditate, or you listen to positive messages. That's one of the things I do. When I first get up, my brain's still kind of slow. So I've got my smoothie. I got my green smoothie with some protein in it, and I have a protein bar. And I get my laptop, I put it on my lap, and I start watching someone else who teaches about productivity and positivity. And I start seeing that, and I start getting my mind in that mindset. And then I go to my work and I start doing my writing, or I start doing working on the PowerPoint or the video or whatever's next, right? But I got to know what my priorities are. So you want to start with them. And if you've ever seen Stephen Covey talk about this, he calls your priorities your big rocks, right? And he does a great illustration where he has a big jar and he's got these rocks. And there's a video on YouTube. You can Google it and watch. He did it live at a seminar. But it's really a great metaphor because what he had was this lady come up and she starts putting the rocks in there. And he's got a bunch of little rocks and a bunch of big rocks. And he's like, the goal is to get every single rock into the jar. And you can do that, but you have to know how to do it. And the first step is putting the big rocks in. Because when you put all the big rocks in, and what I mean by that, those are the priorities in your life. And we're going to get to those in a minute. I'm going to help you kind of define those and clarify those. But, the big rocks, what really moves the needle in your life? So you got your kids, if you're married, you have a spouse, you have family members, then you have your clients, whoever you're working with, and you have to know which ones you need to spend the time with and which ones you shouldn't spend the time with, because we all know that there's those energy vampires out there that steal our energy and we really don't want to work with them. And okay, I get it if you need the money, but here's the reality of that. Those energy vampires that steal your energy, they make it harder for you to go find great clients that don't steal your energy and instead fill you with energy. Because there are great people out there to work with. And that's one of the things that you want to prioritize is, who do I spend my time with? Right? So the big rocks are the big important things and big important people. And then the little rocks are all the things like email and, answering random phone calls or, putting out fires, which is like other people's problems. And you can pour those in at the end of the day. But if you put the big ones in first, then it's easy to get the rest in. But if you pour in the little ones first, then the thing gets full and you have to put the big rocks in. You have all this wasted space at the top. And it's really telling, because most people start with the little things like the email and the social media. They start with complaining about stuff. They start with all this stuff that doesn't move the needle. It's not a priority. And you got to know what your priorities are. So let's get rolling in this. Hope you're getting a big picture of the fact that today is about the big picture. All right, productive clarity is what we're calling this. We want to get productive clarity. So start with, what is your life's major life categories? What are your major life categories? And I got an example on the side here. I'll show you. But know what your categories are, and then know your purpose and your intention in each one. What is important in those areas? What's the whole reason of, well, let's look at a few. Okay, we'll start with career. Major life category. Obviously, for most people out there, it's a career. If you're still a student, that should be your career at this point. Figuring out what you're going to do with the rest of your life, or mastering those skills that you need to just get started. That's important. So if you're a student, see yourself right now in the career of student. But if you already have a career, you have a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're a writer, whatever it is you do, that's one major life category. So now let's ask the question, what's my purpose and intention in this category? What is the purpose of my career? And if you say you don't know, then go back to video 1, because I give you that purpose and intention sheet. Download the sheet, work through that, figure this out. My purpose in my career is to inspire other people, to teach other people, and to share with them ideas that helps them unlock their incredible potential and helps them live lives that most people only dream about. That's my purpose, right? My intention is to create material, whether it be in books, workshops, workbooks, videos like this, courses, speeches, whatever I'm doing, but to create content that supports my purpose. And that's keeping you focused on what really matters so you can achieve your goals. Okay? So if you're in sales and you're a salesperson, let's say you're a pharmaceutical rep, your purpose is you need to fill that in for yourself. I don't want to say what it is, but it needs to be a deep purpose that really moves you. Not just, my purpose is to sell this drug so I can make money. That's basic. We get that. But research shows that when you know the purpose that really moves you, then motivation comes from within. When motivation comes from within, it's not difficult to get out there and do these things. So a pharmaceutical rep has maybe a purpose of helping people live lives healthier, whatever it is, right? And then your intention behind that is to teach people about my product. Help them understand how it will help them. That's the goal. That's the intention. And you need to know that with extreme clarity. So every time you go into a conversation with somebody about your career, you know what the purpose of it is, and you know what your real intention is. That way people don't leave going, gosh, they just wanted to sell me something. No, it's not about selling stuff. It's about helping people and contributing. And when you do that in a way that they feel that and they know that you are on their side and you really want to help them, then you don't have to sell. They'll buy. Because people buy what they know they need, what they think they need, right? Now, sometimes you have a product that they don't know they need. You have to educate them on it. But if you educate them with love and you educate them with the idea that this will make your life better, with the intention of helping them, then buying is just a natural part of the process. Really simple, right? So know what these things are. Here's a couple other life categories. You got your family. Once again, what's your intention? What's your purpose? As a father, a mother, a son, a daughter, a brother or a sister. What is your purpose there? Is it just to be part of the family? I hope not. Is it to be bigger? So what's your purpose with your kids? My purpose with my kids is to be a positive role model who is supporting and loving and is able to support them in what they want to do and help them become the best that they can be, to guide them, and to lead through example. So my intention when I sit down with them to have a conversation is to listen. My intention is to help them get clarity in what matters to them, get clarity in what's right and what's wrong, and help them find solutions so that they learn to think on their own. So there you go. Figure out what yours is, but know those things clearly, and that way when you have conversations, you know what your focus is. Sometimes the intention is just simply to have fun, and that's good, but you got to know what that is so you stay focused on, hey, we're just going to have a good time. Health, what is your purpose? What is your intention? Self-interest, you need to take care of yourself. You got hobbies, you need to know why. You know, what's the purpose of this hobby and what's my intention with it? Can be to relax, can be to meet other people, because sometimes it's in a club or something. But know what it is, get clarity. Get clarity, it really helps. Your finances, what do you need to get by? And then what do you need to start thriving? And what do you need to do to do that? And how do you take care of those finances? And what's your intention behind saving? And what's your intention behind buying this product and being, on budget and all that kind of stuff? When you got clarity, it's easy to stay focused. And then finally, if community, if you're someone who's out there and you're giving back, know your purpose and intention. And then also as well, your spiritual realm. So the next step, how are you doing in these? How are you doing in living true to the intention you have for each of those areas, and give it a rating of 1 to 10. It's time to be honest with ourselves. If you try to fool yourself and you're really lying to yourself, eventually consequences will catch you and it'll catch up, right? If you're ignoring your health so that you can have extreme finances, that's going to catch up with you. And you don't want to wait until it catches up with you, because then it might be too late. So be honest with yourself. Go back to those areas of your life and rate them. How am I doing in my health? Do I exercise? Do I eat properly? Am I getting the right amount of sleep? Do I deal with stress effectively? All this is important to your health and well-being. Do I have self-interests? Do I have a way to relax? How am I doing with my kids? Are we connecting? It's not spending, every hour with them. That might not be depending on the age of them. The older they get, the more they want to be away from you. They have their own life. They're pulling away, and that's natural. So it doesn't have to be like, oh, my kids, I've not spent enough time with them. But when you do spend time with them, is it quality? That's important. Are you having date nights with your spouse? And when you do, is it quality? So you want to look at all these things and give yourself an honest rating. That way, you can figure out what you need to focus on. You're going to look at the ones that you really need to focus on. Now, some of them can be having 10s. You still need to focus on them. But what happens when people do this exercise is they start getting to these, okay, I'm doing great in my career. I'm doing great here and here. But these are, I haven't dealt with these in 6 months. And you want to make sure that when you realize that, you keep dealing with these. But you're going to have to give a little time to these. What can you exchange, throughout the week? It's not always every single day that you hit every category. However, that's ideal because it'll make you happier. You'll feel more fulfilled. I mean, if you miss a spiritual activity during the day and that's really important to you, you're going to feel that. You're not going to be as happy. So you want to make sure that everything, has its balance. But the ones that you're ignoring, give them some priority. Bring them up to the top. What can we do to work on them? All right. The next thing I want you to look at is what's the 80-20 of your 80-20, which is a 16-4. Now, what do I mean by that? So, the 80-20 Pareto's Law. You guys know what that is, right? Pareto's a guy who was walking around his garden one day and he goes, oh my gosh, I just noticed that 80% of the tomatoes come from 20% of the tomato plants. And then he looked around at the land in the community and he said, you know what? 80% of the land is owned by 20% of the people. And we can take that into our sales rooms and businesses, and we can say, okay, 80% of the sales come from 20% of the products. 80% of the sales come from 20% of the salespeople, right? And so we look at what gets the biggest result, and that's what this is all about, right? What gets you the biggest result? What few activities get you the biggest results towards that purpose and intention in each one of those life categories? So when we get that, for example, in a family, for me, I realize that the big moves that get the biggest results in my family is listening. Just listening and letting them talk. And sometimes it's difficult. You want to interrupt, you want to say something, you want to guide, but I realize that listening is the best thing I can do. And most of the time I'm pretty good at it. My kids might say otherwise. But it's about knowing that you're working towards it. And if you fail, it's go back to what I talked about at the beginning. Are you embracing the struggle? Because yeah, if you know that listening is the key thing, that can be your clients too. If you're a salesperson, asking questions and then listening, that's going to get you the biggest results. And if you don't do that really well, and you know you should, that's part of your challenge. That's part of your struggle. Embrace it and get better at it, right? So that you can figure this out and then move on to the next thing that you need to work on. That's just part of life. We're always climbing the ladder of personal growth. What do we need to work on to make ourselves better? So the 80-20 of the 80-20 though is when we really fine tune and we get in there and we start looking. And this is the difference between people who are, well, first of all, average, they're doing the opposite. They're doing a 20-80. And then we go above that. Okay, the above average, they're doing 80-20. But if we want to get into the top 5%, we've got to get into the 16-4, which is taking that 80% of our sales come from 20% of these products. Now let's break that one down. Let's take that 20% of products and see if there's a 16-4 in that one. Is there one that's really crushing it while the other ones aren't? Do we need to give some special attention to some of these? Are there certain activities in our business that really move the needle? Like we might say there's 5 activities that are really important, but out of those 5, which one really gets the results? And that's fine-tuning it and looking in there and going, okay, what do I really need to do? And people miss this a lot of times because they go, well, in relationships, but 80-20 would be spending time with them. Okay, but what is it that really makes a difference when you're spending time with them? Laughing, listening, sharing. What are the real action steps that if you focus just on those would improve that relationship exponentially and make a huge difference, right? Huge difference. So know what that is. Even in exercise, a lot of people spend a lot of time in their exercise not doing things that really help their body improve. So fine tune it. What is it that really helps you feel better? Are you with me? I think you are. Okay, so this is something you have to analyze for yourself. You have to know yourself. You have to really look at it. But when you figure that out, man, I'm telling you, everything starts to work because you're eliminating, like we talked about yesterday, the not to-do list. You're eliminating all of those things you shouldn't be doing. You're basically saying, these things move the needle, and if I have time, these are my big rocks. If I have time to do the other ones, I will, but I need to focus on these right here. This is the difference maker. All right, number 2, get clarity on your purpose and your intention again. Your purpose, then your intention. So in all those areas, do you know your purpose? Do you know your intention? Number 3, prioritize your day. So this is how we're going to really set the day into motion and double our productivity. We need to prioritize it based on this stuff. Okay? So if you haven't printed out yet, click down below, open that up, and print out the 1-page daily planner. This is a really simple way for you to know what's important and what you should focus on. What categories do you need to focus on today? You don't focus on all of them every day. You don't have to do that. I mean, you can, but sometimes it just doesn't work that way. But throughout the week, you should be able to balance this stuff. Okay? You should definitely be able to find a way to balance your categories. And it doesn't mean, when I say balance, that you're spending equal amount of time with everything. You know, the reality is with exercise, 30 minutes to an hour a day is good, right? 5 days a week. It doesn't have to be 7. There's days that you need rest. And it depends on how high the intensity of your exercise is as well. So 30 minutes to an hour a day, if you'll get up and walk and just jump around a little bit, get the heartbeat going, you're going to feel much better. Get the breathing, deep breathing, doing some things like that. Meditation. Just a few minutes a day. You don't have to meditate for 30 minutes by any means. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, you get a break, clear your head. In fact, I suggest that you kind of do a little meditation before you change activities. I think I talked about that yesterday. It's like taking that moment to clear your head, release what you were just doing, and now set the intention for what you're going to be doing. So you don't bring that to this, because they might not really interact. It's like bringing home your work to your family. That's not a good idea, okay? Now, if you work with your wife or your husband, then that might be okay. But we also have to learn when to separate that, right? And the kids don't need to see that very much either, unless you're teaching them and bringing them into the business. But make sure that, they're on the same page with you. It matters to them too, because if things don't matter to other people, if you don't find a way to connect with them on why you're doing it, their purpose doesn't match your purpose, you're not going to really click, right? And people are sometimes really polite, but that doesn't mean they're happy. I'll give you a story about a dad who said, I want to connect with my son. And so, the answer is, well, you need to spend some time with them. Well, I tried last weekend. Yeah, what did you do? I took him to the office with me on Sunday. I think most of you guys can already see the problem with this. Did the son go? Yeah. Why? Because he wanted to spend time with his dad. Was he happy sitting in the office while his dad ignored him? No. Right? Was he happy even if his dad gave him a chore? Probably not. Unless he really liked to organize and you gave him something fun to do and you made it fun. But it also needs to be, because the whole idea was spending time together, how are you spending time together? Are you doing it together and making it fun? That can change everything. So he goes back to his son and he's like, all right, son, I messed up. Let's spend Sunday together. And the kid's like, I don't think so, Dad. Okay, I don't want to go back to your office. And the dad said, no, let's do what you want to do. So they found something to do together. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes that's difficult. But it's definitely worth it, isn't it? You know it is. I know it is. You got to find a way. You got to be motivated. You got to go do it. What will category? What category will you need? There we go. Boom. All right. Embrace the struggle. What category we need to focus on today, or which categories? So pick a few categories that are prime categories today that are really going to move the needle. And then what action or actions will move you closer towards your purpose and intentions in that category. What action or actions? So we're going to get clear again on what I'm going to do today. And if that you're not sure, eliminate the things that you know don't really matter. They don't really move the needle. All right? What will get you closer to your purpose? My purpose is real simple, right? My purpose right now is to finish recording this video course. So one action is to actually record. And as simple as that is, it's amazing when you sit down and you talk with someone about how they spend their day and you say, okay, what's most important to you? Let's say I'm talking to a real estate agent. What's most important to you? Well, most important to me is I'm a listing agent. So talking to people about listing their home. Great. How many scheduled appointments do you have today for that? I don't. But that's the number one thing that'll move the needle, right? Right. Okay, so let's take a step back. You need appointments. So what's the number one thing you need to do right now? Well, I need to get appointments. Great. So are you scheduling in time to get appointments? No, I'm just hoping people call. And they're not doing anything to move the needle. But instead, they go to work, they hang out all day, they gossip at the water cooler, they listen to other people's problems, they talk to the agents who are making the deals, and they maybe even print some copies for them, or maybe they make a new brochure, or they work on that business card. But they don't do anything that really moves the needle towards their big moves, their opportunity moves, which is get appointments, go to the appointment, get the listing. That's where they should be focused on. How do I get the appointments? How do I market myself to get there? And if you don't know how to do that, then priority number one is learn marketing. And I had to do that. I had to learn how to market this stuff, and I'm still learning. It's every day, it's a learning process with marketing, but I didn't know how to do that. So I made it a priority. Right now, I need to learn how to market. So figure out what yours is. What are your major life categories you need to focus on? And on the sheet there, if you print it, I've got room for 4, right? Because every day, we don't want to spread ourselves thin, but you can add to that if you need to. If there are little things in there like spiritual, I'm going to pray 3 times today, or meditate, or just have a nature walk. Those things might be a little simpler than your career, your family, and that sort of thing. But make sure you have clarity on the big rocks. I'm saying this over and over again, right? I call them actually the big moves, as you'll see in a minute, but I like the word rocks as well. What is really going to make the difference? The next thing, before taking action, analyze what I call the opportunity cost. In other words, if I'm going to go over here and work on a brochure, going back to the real estate agent, if I'm going to go over here and work on a brochure, will that give me the biggest return of investment of my time? We're talking about productivity. My time. And if the answer is no, you say, well, what else, what else the other options I have besides working on a brochure? Well, I could actually call people. I could look up for sale by owners in the newspaper and online, and I could find these people, and I could call them, and I could go meet with them. I could practice what I would say, rehearse my interview with people, right? I could learn more about it. But the brochure, it's busy work for most cases. And it's not really what's going to sell you to these future clients. But we do these things because they reduce our anxiety. Because our anxiety is, I don't know how to talk to for sale by owners, so what do I do? You learn. I don't know. What you're telling me is you don't want to talk to them because you feel uncomfortable. But you say, I want to talk to them because I want appointments. So learn how to get comfortable. The brochure is not going to make you comfortable. Okay? Making a huge packet is not going to make you comfortable. You're still going to just, at some point, have to go talk to them. And I guarantee you that you don't need the fancy stuff because people connect with people. It's nice to have a little something, but you don't need to make it a big deal. The big deal is you and your skills. So if you don't have the skills, priority number 1, the opportunity cost of learning, but don't just get stuck learning. Practice with somebody and then go practice with real people. And embrace, say it again, the struggle. Embrace the struggle. Hug it. See it as a challenge. And know that when you get past the challenge and you get comfortable with it, you're going to succeed. It's just going to happen. Number 2, stay focused on the big picture moves. See, I put it in blue because that's what blue obviously makes it like, whoa, that's important stuff right there. The 16-4. But that's what I call that big picture moves. What's the 16-4 that give you the biggest results? And if you don't know that, that's your priority. Figure that out. Ask someone if you need to. Look at your results. Figure it out so that every day you prioritize around those things in every life category, every single one of them. Use the one-day planner. It's down below. It's free. You click it. You print it. Boom. Make it a habit every single day. So when you get up in the morning, you're going to do your stretches. You're going to do your bounces. You're going to get breathing. You're going to get some healthy energy going. Drink some water. And you're going to do the 5-minute journal. Focus on what you're happy about. Focus on your victories. Focus on where you're going and who you're becoming. And get clear every day, what am I doing? And sometimes that's really easy once you get that going because you're like, I figured this out. That's why I said, the other day I said that your to-do list is detrimental in many cases because you start focusing on, well, I need to do these things. But once you get the habit of doing the big picture moves and you know what they are, then you really don't have to do much with that. The one-day planner is pretty much the same most of the days, but you need to use it because there's certain areas of your life that when you're honest with yourself, you go back to which ones do I need to focus on, then you work them in as well, okay? Plus, we have appointments, and there's certain time blocks during the day that we should be doing certain things, but that's the next thing I want to talk about is your time blocks. Get into flow by working in productivity chunks or time blocks, okay? And these productivity blocks should be dedicated to one thing. Multitasking is killing your productivity. In the next video, we're going to talk about how to stay fully present and how to get into flow. But today I want you to get a little bit of the idea that we want to learn how to get into flow, which is, if you haven't heard of this, flow is the mental equivalent of the zone for an athlete. You know, if you ever see an athlete, like a tennis player, for example, and they're just, bam, and every time they hit the ball, it just lands right in front of the line and then bounces out. So they're just killing their opponent. Or you watch a basketball player, or maybe you've played it, and every time you shoot, no matter how bad your form is, you make the shot. That's the zone, right? And you can get into that because you're getting out of your own way mentally, because you are in a place of a little bit of challenge, not too much, because if it's too much challenge, right, we start getting stressed, but also no boredom. So there's enough challenge that we're not bored, but we're not overwhelmed because we're getting good at it. Now, at the beginning, will you have flow? Probably not. To beat that, what you need to do is set goals that are still a little bit challenging, right? Get you out of your comfort, help you grow, but not too much. So make the goal, whatever it is. If you are, let me give you an example from my life, in making videos. When I first started making videos, I was wanting to make a perfect video the first time. And the hardest part for making videos for me is the very beginning of the video. So I said, all right, to get into flow so that I don't chop myself off at the knees here and get nothing done, I need to figure out, okay, I'm just going to record. So that's challenging in itself. I'm just going to talk to the camera, but I'm not going to have high expectations of what I'll get out of it today. If I get the first line, right, if I can actually get through that first line, then I'll be good. But I didn't say I had to be perfect. And a lot of people do that. Well, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be perfect. It's a growth process. It's not going to be perfect. Even when you get really good, it's not going to be perfect. You saw back a while ago, and maybe you're saying, well, Rob, you're not really good. But I've been doing this a long time. I like to think I am. And I still had the error with the will. Did I hit stop and go, oh my gosh, I must start over, crash, burn the whole thing? No. Because I know that you realize what I meant, right? And if you turned me off because of that, then that's the energy, like I talked about earlier, that I don't need, right? There's enough people out there that will support you when you mess up. And the reality is, when you are authentic, people will connect with you. Be real, right? Be real and let them know, you know what? I'm working on this. I'm new. I mean, how many stories have you heard about people when they first started? They messed up horribly, but people saw the effort and they saw the heart and desire behind what they were doing, and they supported that. You know, I was a waiter when I was 16 in a Mexican restaurant, which is really funny because I don't eat Mexican food and I had no idea. You know, they put a plate in front of me. I was like, I don't know what that is. My family, we were meat and tater. All right. I grew up on a farm, and my mom would put a roast in the crock pot first thing in the morning, or at the end of the day, she would do chicken fried steak or something like that. And it was a meat and tater family. We had mashed potatoes almost every night with green beans. And you see where I'm going now. I'm going back into my South Oklahoma heritage with my speaking. But that's all we ate. Occasionally we went for pizza. That was a treat. But Mexican food, my mom didn't like it. She didn't care for it, so we didn't get any. I didn't know what it was. So I get my job at a Mexican restaurant. And they got chalupas and they got, I don't even know. And I didn't know what it looked like. So I remember one of my first big tables. And like I say, I'm 16 years old, this big awkward kid. And there's these people there, and it was like 10 people, big old family. I messed it up so bad. I did. It was horrible. But the lady that was basically the head of the table, she was so friendly and supportive. She made me feel okay with my screw up, and I worked really hard to fix it. And she recognized that. And that was actually one of my biggest tips. And maybe you've been there before, because you recognize, wow, you know, they're messing up, but they're not quitting. And so you root for the underdog. So be authentic with people. Don't worry about being perfect. Just worry about getting into action and what I call flow, and I don't call that flow. Positive psychology calls that flow. But get into flow, and that is basically a moment where it can last 50 minutes or so, I don't know. But it lasts as long as it lasts, but it's a moment of time where you forget about everything else and you don't worry about time and you just are there and you're doing what you do and you're enjoying it. Get into flow. Learn how to do that. So make little goals that are challenging, but not so challenging that your anxiety goes through the roof. That is super important. If you get that, you're going to be successful at this. So we've got time chunks or productivity chunks. And what research shows, and you have to kind of figure out your own number here with this, but I like to make it simple, 50-10, 50-20. 50-10, 50-20. And what that is you want to get in productivity chunks of 50 minutes of work, focused work. And like I said a while ago, you block out everything else. This is 50 minutes. Whatever you're going to do, you do that. So if you're going to make phone calls to prospective clients, 50 minutes. No outside interruptions, because that will break your flow. Any type of interruption, social media, email, phone call from somebody coming into you is going to break your flow. Let people know during this time period. And if you get a lot of phone calls, just put it in your voicemail, right? Or make an email that automatically pops up that says, hey, I am in a meeting right now. I'm in an appointment. I've scheduled whatever it is. Just be honest and say, I will be returning calls today at this time. And make that after you've done the most important work of the day. The stuff that really takes mental effort, get that done first. Your life will change. When I first started, like I told you in the other videos, when I first started writing in the mornings, it's my book Intentional Mornings is all about. Read it, check it out, take the course. It's powerful because when I figured out that the mornings are my best time, no distractions, get in there and focus, I started getting so much done. And in a couple of hours, if I'm focused on writing, I can write 2,500 words. I mean, I can just crank them out. And then later in the day, I'll get to my emails. I'll get to my social media. I'll get to the phone calls. Or I'll even get to the editing part. Don't edit while you're writing, just write. And come back to that later or give it to someone else to edit. They probably can edit it better for you anyway than you can. Main thing is if you're a writer, just get the words out. If you are going back to the salesperson, let's say you're that realtor, let's start the day with 50 minutes of, before other people are up, get up early enough to spend 50 minutes getting energy going, right? So that might be your first time block is your breakfast and your shower and your morning meditation, energize. Take a 10-minute break and don't think about anything else during this 10 minutes. Don't think about work, just go for a walk. Right? Don't get involved with anything stressful. Don't get into drama. Don't go to water cooler talk. Just take a few minutes to walk it off. Get a new drink, freshen up a little bit, then get back to another 50-minute set. So the realtor in this case, maybe 50 minutes of practicing what they're going to say to customers. Role playing. Depending on what your job is, figure out what is the thing that will move the needle. Then, 20-minute break. This is the natural rhythm of our bodies. The natural rhythm of our bodies is that we can work about 45 to 50 minutes before we mentally get tired. Then we need to take a little break, recharge, get a drink of water. Best thing you can do is energize with water because water is what your cells in your brain need to energize. So get a drink of water, go back to work for 15 minutes, and then 20 to 30 minute break here. And what I do on this one is meditation. This is where I'll lay flat I have a couch and I just lay out flat and I don't really normally fall asleep during this time period, but I am able to focus and I'm able to just clear my head, and as I clear my head, I start getting new ideas, I start getting re-energized, and I naturally get re-energized. Pushing through and doing all of this without much of a break causes you to burn out before you even get into the third hour of your day. Third hour of my day, I'm ready for whatever comes at me. I'm energized. I'm ready for the next step. So learn to work in these productivity chunks. Also, when I'm working, take in effect the Mozart effect, which is just basically any type of relaxing music, not too slow. The research shows that resting heartbeat of the music, 60 to 70 beats per minute, will help you stay focused and energized. And make sure there's no no words in the music. So that's the Mozart effect, right? Mozart's great for this. You go on YouTube and put in study music. Stuff is incredible. And there's so much, and it's free. And you just put in your headbuds? No, the headbud like a plant. You put in your earbuds and just listen to that music softly in the background. Don't let it distract you. But what will happen is it'll help you get into flow because the right side of our brain doesn't have words. It thinks in pictures, and it thinks in music and rhythms. So when we listen to the music, this occupies this part of the brain, causing the left side, where language is, to focus. And it works really, really well. So if you find yourself getting distracted, put on some Mozart, some sort of study music, 60 beats per minute, no words, and let it silently, it's real soft in the background, go into the right side, because your distraction will come from this brain getting bored because you're not doing creative stuff or things that it really needs to be activated with. And even if you are, getting it into sync with music will change everything. Everything. All right, guys? So give that a try. Work in your productivity chunks. Put on some nice, soft music in the background. And we will be back tomorrow with a brand new habit. So that's the first 3 habits. I know there's a lot there. Go back and review this. Get your one-day planner. But know what your life categories are. Know what your purpose and intention is in those areas. And then plan your days around that. Prioritize. And then the last part, work in productivity chunks, right? And if you are afraid you're going to overwork, because you don't want to do that, when you go past that 50 minutes mark, you start to get tired, and it's harder to recover when we go past the threshold, right? So you reach that point where you're like, I'm just starting to get tired. We take a break, we can refresh. But if we go into the red, so let's say 60 minutes, it's going to take longer to rejuvenate and get back into the flow. So don't reach burnout first thing, right? Don't reach burnout at all. But definitely don't do it within your first hour. So make sure and it works great. This way you don't have to worry about anything. Just set a timer. Everyone has a timer. Don't use your phone or anything like that because that could be distracting. The Pomodoro effect. Maybe you read about this, but a guy named Pomodoro got not Pomodoro, that's not his name. The timer is a Pomodoro timer. So it's like one of those apples or something in the kitchen. Get that and put it on your desk. Set it for 50 minutes. When it goes ding, you stop. Finish what you're doing, get up, go for a walk, 5 minutes, come back, do that again, set the timer. Timers will change your life. They will. It's exactly amazing. It's crazy. If you're going to do that 20-minute meditation or 30-minute, set that timer. So you don't have to worry about when the 20 minutes is up. The timer will let you know. All right, guys? So go out and do this. Send me some feedback. Give me some comments. Let me know how it's working for you. I'm looking for people who will be positive testimonies for my stuff. Now, if you have a criticism and that sort of stuff, I'm open to that too. I'm willing to listen to people and their ideas. But if you have a positive thing and you would like to help me, basically by giving me some social proof, I'm just asking if it's working for you and I could quote you, I would really appreciate it because a lot of people, they're afraid to take that step because they're not sure if it'll work. They're very uncertain. But when someone like you, who it's working for, says, here's the results I'm getting, then they start to get more confident in that. And so I'd really appreciate that, and I know other people would too, and feel free to share all this with other people because we're really out there trying to make a difference. I really want to help people, just like I think you do, to live life to the fullest and really reach their full potential. So go out there today, live intentionally, live life to the fullest, be the best you can be, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.